If everyone take their seats, we'll get started into the salon. Don Tredenik is our judge. And so I'm just going to hand the floor over to him and then give him the microphone.
Quiet, everybody.
That's good. Yep. Hello, everyone. So those that don't know me, I know quite a few people here because a long time ago I was actually a member of this club. So my name's Don Tredenik. I'm an instructor around the Twin Cities area, teach a number of different places, primarily out at the Arboretum, but several other places as well, including Hot Sam's Photo Park. I've got a couple of workshops coming up out there, actually starting in May. So if you're looking for something a little bit different than nature, a little quirky, that's a good place to go. We've got a light painting one on May 9th. With that, you want to jump into it? Okay, so I'll put my glasses on so I can see. Yeah, so I like the pose on this in the direction of light. I think that the light might be just a touch bright on this. It's coming nicely from the side, but I think having a little bit, just knocking it down just a touch, about a third of a stop, I think would have made it better. So I gave this an 8. Go ahead. Sorry. I really like the color on this. I thought it worked really well with setting off the duck. It does look like the camera maybe caught the duck's bill as opposed to the eye, so the eye wasn't quite as sharp as I would have liked. And I would have liked a little bit of a catch light in there too, so I gave this one a 7. Next. So last night I was with Rick and I was telling him that in this salon, probably of all the salons I've ever judged, this is the best photo I've ever seen. The colors in this are just absolutely amazing with how they just work so well together. So as you could guess, I gave it a 10. In case you were wondering, next. Yeah, so this one, the subject stands out nice. It's sharp, really tough to do with a bird in flight. The front edge of the wings though do appear to be blown out quite a bit. And I would like a little bit more room on this side, for it to fly into, or if it was just moved back a little bit or even zoomed out a little bit. So I gave this one a 7. Next. I feel like I'm rushing through these really fast. Beautiful sky, just an amazing sky. Really nice layering in the image as well. There are a couple of technical issues. First, and if you've seen me judge before, you know that one of the things that I will just hone in on every time is haloing in the high contrast areas, and there is quite a bit here, probably caused by sky selection. It can be easily fixed. And I think I would have liked just a little bit longer of an exposure just to smooth things out. It's kind of in that awkward in-between stage. So I gave this one a 7. Next. Just great timing, so much detail. I really like the depth of field. The water drops even are just nice and sharp. I gave this one a 10. Next. So subjects are positioned well. Apparently it's hummingbird season. There were several. The birds in this one do seem to be just a touch over-processed. And I'm also noticing there's some dust spots or some distracting things. I don't know if you can really see them over here, but over in this area as well. So I gave this one a 7. Next. So great timing to capture this image. It seems like maybe the shutter speed was just a bit slow. So it does result in a little bit of a soft image, or maybe it was shot through glass. I'm not quite sure. Then also the crop on the legs is a little bit awkward with where it is. So I gave this one a 7. Next. I just really like the inky water that's kind of running through the S curves, bringing you back. You've got that vanishing point back there. The amount of grain that was added also to this, I'm guessing as part of the black and white treatment, I thought was handled really well. I would try to work a little bit more with the contrast in the grasses and trees, just to try to bring that out a little bit more. So I gave this one an 8. Next. Really nice detail in the beetles. The lighting, I think, is also really nice. It's very easy to get hot spots on these guys. I just really wish that this bright leaf and this line just wasn't here, because it just drags you right out the bottom of the photo, unfortunately. I don't know if you could darken that down a little bit. Not quite sure how far you can go these days with the club and entries. I would probably spend a little bit more time working on this one in post-processing to try to dull that down a little bit. So gave that one a 7. Next. Very difficult ducks to photograph. At least they seem to know when I'm in the area. They definitely know when I'm in the area. These are nicely positioned in the frame. I like you got the little water droplet coming off of the duck's bill there. I would have liked this to have been a little bit brighter. I think you could come up about one stop and still maintain the detail in the white feathers. It's probably what you were fighting with as you were working on with this, trying to keep that detail, but would have liked to see that a little bit brighter. So I gave this one a 7. Next. Yeah, so nice capture. What seems to be some really challenging light that you were dealing with, yet you still managed to get detail in the feathers, which is pretty good considering that the light was flat and not a whole lot of shadow detail to work with. So that was pretty nice. Would have liked a little bit more room on the left, and also that little spot down in the lower right-hand corner. Kind of wish wasn't there, but I gave this one an 8. Next. Yeah, stars are nice and sharp. Milky Way core, I think you position that pretty nicely, with respect to everything. It does look like there may have been a little bit too much noise reduction applied to the arch itself that had a little bit of that sort of plasticky look to it. And I think the white balance might be off just a touch as well. So I'd try something like the 3800 to 4000 Kelvin zone. That'll probably take some of that out of there, and I think it would look a little bit better. So I gave that one a 7. But I think if you did fix some of those things up, I think it'd be worth resubmitting. Next. This, I thought, was just a really nice timeless photo. I could see this being like the cover of a Steinbeck novel. Just really, I thought it was just really well executed. I gave this one a 10. Next. Nice detail in the owl. Bird is well exposed. The background is pretty busy. There's just a lot of stuff back there, and it's bright. It's picking up the light. But I think the bigger issue is the angle is just a bit too severe, looking almost straight up from underneath. So would have liked if you'd have been, a few steps back, so you could have actually caught more of the face and the eyes and that. So gave this one a 7. Next. Foreground really works well with the aurora. A lot of times when I'm judging and I get pictures of the aurora, it's the aurora and that's it. There's like nothing else in there. This has a nice balance. You've got a nice leading line from the moon's reflection there, bringing you right up into it. So I thought it was really nicely executed from that point. I would play a little bit more with the white balance. I think you could probably pull some more colors out of this, just because of the aurora and where you got it and when I think this was taken. I think you could pull some reds and some other things out of it, but I gave it a 9. Next. I like the lighting and the detail that's in the leaves. The large leaf at the bottom does provide that initial spot for your eye to land, which is always really important in these kind of shots. There is a spot that's kind of hard to tell here. Right here, there's something just kind of strange with that leaf. I think it's just bent over and broken, but it just, once you notice it, you're just kind of stuck there. And so, especially since the depth of field really drops off right behind that. And so for that reason, I gave that one a 7. Next. Really nice fall scene. I like the use of the stream, really kind of direct the viewer through it. The image does seem to be over sharpened a bit. It's really kind of crunchy along the rocks and that right here. Also looks like maybe a little heavy on texture and clarity. So I think, you know, bringing those things down would actually improve this quite a bit. So I think it's really more of a post-processing sort of thing. So I gave this one a 7. Next. You always have to like a photo that makes you laugh. So nice playful image. Overall, nice story. It appears like it was taken through some pretty heavy glass, which adds a softness to the photo that's different from if there was camera shake or if it was depth of field. But my recommendation for this is there's a new feature in Photoshop that's designed to remove window glare. And I think that would actually take that out and would improve this quite a bit. So I would try using that. So I gave this one a 7. Next. Really nice action shot. One of my favorite things when I see photos like this is when you have the wing dip. So I just really like when you're able to catch that. Easier said than done, obviously. I think with your panning, you might have been just a touch slower than the loon. So there's a little bit of motion blur in there. I gave this one an 8. Next. So very nice mountain scene. I have to laugh at my own typos sometimes. Even though the trees in the foreground, this is kind of an interesting one. So these trees appear to be straight, but every other tree appears to be leaning off. And the lake also seems to, so I think maybe it needs a little bit of straightening. You know, it's just really kind of, I think this is one of those images you're going to be playing with that leveling slider just constantly. I gave this one an 8. Next. So the angle that you caught this at brought out attitude in this duck that I don't think ducks actually have, but it is definitely there. And I would be very, very worried, I think, if I was a photographer. I think the rain adds kind of a nice touch. I do find the one in the background to be a little distracting, mainly because its head actually seems to be a little distorted, probably just based on the focal length of the lens. I gave this one an 8. Next. I think the elements in this frame work really well together. The focal length of the lens did a really nice job of balancing the foreground with the background. It didn't overwhelm the island and that's back there. Also like that I photographed the spot quite a few times myself. This thing right here is really easy to mess up. And the fact that you got that little bit of separation there, really, really helped. There's a lot of haloing on here that really needs to be addressed. And I'd also like to see just a little bit more detail in shadows. So just bringing up the shadows a little bit more. So I gave this one a 7. Next. Really nice nature story. I like the preening with the little chick. It looks like the camera may have focused on the foot. So there was definitely a focus issue on this one. And I'd also see if there's a way you could just tone down the background just a little bit, just take a little bit of the busyness and distraction out of there. I gave this one a 7. Next. So really nice interaction between the bird and the photographer. I think the bird's positioned pretty nicely in the frame. It's kind of looking down towards you. So even though it is kind of towards that side, there is that implied movement backwards. So I think that kind of works. I think you were dealing with just a really challenging, dark, cloudy day, which the colors here look a little bit more vibrant than what I saw on my monitor, but the colors look really flat, so I gave this one a 7. Next. So I like the pose that you have the bird looking right down the center of the lens. But the image does seem really soft. And I'm also guessing that this may be another one that was taken through a window based on there's a lot of stuff like this and that, and there's a few others right there in there. So there's something going on that needed to be cleaned up a little bit more. So gave that one a 7. Next. I think the tonal range here is managed pretty well. I think compositionally, there needs to be a stronger spot for the eye to initially land within this photo. Without that, makes it really tough to determine, what you really want the subject to be. Is it the reflections? Is it the trees? Is it the sky? So I had a little bit of trouble with that. So I gave this one a 7. Next. This probably got the cuteness award for the salon. Overall, just a really nice mood to this. Fantastic interaction with the photographer. Would have maybe like just a touch more depth of field to have the entire nose be sharp, but other than that, really well done. I gave this one a 9. Next. The hummingbird's positioned well with respect to the subject. There are some things in the background that are really distracting, really kind of draw the eye away. It's always tough, usually where one flower is growing, there's 1,000 other flowers growing and the light's hitting them and that. But with all of those really hot spots in the back, it just really takes you away from the subject. Gave that one a 7. Next. Perfect pose. I think this is, one of those poses that everybody tries to get with these things. And the thing I like about this, and maybe some other judges would complain about it, but I really like the fact that you've got these grasses coming up in front here, but they're sharp. And so it's not like a blurry little line there, but it actually fits well with the story. So I thought that worked really nice. Maybe a little bit more room in the frame. It's obviously cropped, so maybe you could have, I don't know what was around it. Maybe it's, something really distracting or something like that. I gave this one a 9. Next. So I like the juxtaposition between the large tree and this bright cloud up here. I think that works pretty nice. I think I was at that same spot last fall, but I didn't have anywhere near as nice of a sky as that, so a little jealous about that. The large shadow, lower left, I think is a bit of a distraction. And I think you could easily correct it actually with a crop. So I think if you came across here, just below this bush, and just came in a little bit, you might have just a touch there, and then kind of came in like right here. That would do a great job of just kind of cleaning that up. I gave this one an 8. Next. Really like the backlighting on the subject and the detail. Detail is really nice actually on this. The issue is that large lens flare that's coming in to the left-hand side. And I don't know if there's a way you can tone that down. Well, I know there is a way you can tone it. I don't know if it's allowed for you to tone it down. So I gave that one a 7. But if you can tone it down and it's allowed, I would go back in, tone it down, and resubmit it. Next. So interesting framing on this shot. It adds a lot of tension to the image, which I think is really nice. I really actually enjoyed that. The focus, this was another one, the focus seemed to be a little bit off. It seemed to be on the upper wing. And it kind of looks like an attempt was made to recover some of the detail in the head, which resulted in some artifacts down there. But I gave this one an 8. Next. Another just really beautiful image. The colors in this just really complement each other very well. The colors in the sky in the foreground, it's just really, really nicely handled. The cluster of flowers in the front provide that landing spot. You know, when you look at this, you know, you go here and then you notice that back there. And so you have just this really nice kind of progression. You know, I do wish that this was a little bit sharper. I'm guessing it was kind of a windy day. I gave this one a 9. Next. So nice fall tones in the image. The crane is exposed well, nice and sharp. Like to have the bird moving more towards the camera, facing more towards the camera, as opposed to having the body being positioned more away from it. And then, because the light was very flat, there is kind of a lack of tonal range as well within this. I gave this one a 7. Next. Another one to just make you laugh. Wonder what they were arguing about. But just a great moment that was captured. Would have liked to have seen the edge of the beaks to be just a little bit sharper. I gave this one an 8. Next. Birds positioned nicely with respect to the flower itself. The cropping of the flower I thought was a bit awkward. Would have liked to have seen a little bit more of it in the frame. But other than that, background's handled well. So I gave this one an 8. Next. And I just really like the low angle. Apparently you got down in the swamp with this guy to get this nice catch light in the eye. The subject is really tight in the frame. Would like to have a little bit more room around it. And the fur itself does seem to be a little bit over processed. I don't know if this was one that was shot at a really high ISO and trying to recover the noise or what, but there's just something about the processing of that. So I gave this one a 7. That's it. I guess I could have taken longer going through them, but
All right, I'm just gonna read off the 8s, 9s, and 10s. For the 8s, we have Christopher Crowhurst, Sand Creek. Paul Kamen, Boreal Owl at Sunset. Rosalind Long, Flight of the Spoonbill. Don Specht, Immature Loon's First Flight. Paul Kamen, Pado Lake. Eric Gustafson, Drakewood Ducks in the Rain. Ron Lahr, Zion Storm Clouds. D. Honeysett, Juvenile Bald Eagle. Alan Schultz, Rockhopper Greeting. Michael Shoup, Brown Inca. For the 9s, John Penoyer, Aurora and Moonglow. Jonan Karatikin, At the Zoo. Rosalind Long, Dancing Sharp-Tailed Grouse. John Penoyer, Oak Savannah Lupines. And for the 10s, David Hoyt, Waiting Egret. Marianne Sear, White-necked Jacobins. Michael Greiner, All the Rave. And that's it, folks. Someone grab the lights. And if we could help put away the seats too, that'd be great. Remember, the award ceremony is next month in this room. And thanks for coming.